Now that I've had time to rest and really think about what I'm going to be doing for my retirement and generally just about money overall, I started to think about something which is, I think, very, very important. You know, when we were growing up, we'll talk about money. And the picture that we had about money was that uncle or auntie that had a nice house or had a nice car. And that, for me, was sort of like the highest level of, wow, someone is successful or they have money. So really, money was measured in a car and a nice house and maybe a business. Now, I'm talking about myself here because I know some of you will start saying, no, that's not what I believed and so on. But as for me, that's what was sort of like the sign that someone is successful. And even though I knew words like investment, or I knew words like, words that define success, even though I knew those words, the problem was these words were just empty. I did not know how to apply it in real life. And I'll tell you why I'm getting to this. So as I'm looking at my retirement at this stage in my life, I'm thinking to myself, okay, really having a house is not enough. Really having a house is not enough because there needs to be more than that, because you're going to need to sustain yourself in retirement. So the question now is, how do you sustain yourself? And what I mean by that is you're going to need some sort of income coming in retirement. So again, usually there is a one-way track, and the one-way track is, you know what, I have a pension, and pretty much that's it. But you see, I think we need to start thinking about money in a much different way. In fact, in a way which is totally different to how people in the past thought about money. So what do I mean by this? Well, you see, we need something that generates money. We definitely need something that generates money. It can't be just pension, because at least you need to have 2 or 3 forms of income while we are in retirement. So with me, I was pushing so hard, of course, to have this chicken business working, because at least that can give me a bit of money while, I'm in retirement, the house is there. So oftentimes when I give advice to people, it's more along the lines of, think of something that generates money, when you're in retirement. Now, in my case, the few things that I can think about are, for example, things along the farming side of things, especially in Zimbabwe, because it is inevitable. What else can you do? Because in the UK here, everything has been done before, and pretty much there's very little you can do or to add to what's there already. I mean, imagine trying to set up something brand new in the UK. It's almost impossible because everything has already been done. And there's so many regulations and competition. So in order for you to start something, the barrier to entry is very, very, very high. And if you wanted to do something and compete, you would have to go and do something like Facebook ads or YouTube ads, and that can be very, very expensive. It's about $1 a click, and then you have to think about conversions. Out of those that clicked, how many of them have bought? So it's a bit tricky. So as we are thinking about retirement, again, there's one thing that someone said while I was having a conversation with them, and this channel has led me to speaking to a lot of people. And this gentleman said, if you want to if you want to get some fruits from a tree, you need to plant it way ahead of time. You don't decide to have fruits on the day that you want to plant the tree. So again, this got me thinking, because at the moment, as we speak, if you are close to retirement or you're thinking of retirement, you have to plant your trees now to reap the fruits later. And that statement is correct in its literal form, and also it's correct in the sense that don't wait to take action when you are just about to go in retirement, because your fruits won't be ready. It takes time for the fruits to get ready. So basically that's what I'm saying. So for those of you that want to retire in Zimbabwe, I would recommend or suggest that you start planting your trees now, slowly. If you're going to be making mistakes, make the mistakes now rather than what? Rather than during the time that you want to reap the fruits, because that can be very, very, very frustrating. So back to my topic about money. You know, I remember growing up, not even one conversation have I had with my mom or my dad about money. They didn't know about money, or anything about money as well. All they knew was you work and that's it. And their focus was also to get us a very, very good education. And pretty much that was it, nothing more to it. But in the real world, definitely you have to be someone who produces a product or a service for you to really make that extra mile of making money. And then if you own that thing, then it's even better, because that way you are working along the lines of the taxes, where you're taxed less when you have a business rather than, compared to when you're actually working. So I think we need to really change the way we think about money and how we earn money. In fact, I need to sit down with my kids regularly now and teach them these things, because like I said, there are so many words that we repeat every day about money. We talk about investment, we talk about equity. But when it comes to really applying this in the real life, it's not really the same. Because I've heard so many times where people talk about investment when they've bought a car. So even something as basic as that, people don't understand that a car is not an investment. It's simple when you speak about it, but in application, people still think that a car is an investment. And also, to a degree, I know this is a bit of a controversial one, people actually think that your house on mortgage is an investment. You see, it only, or in my opinion, that is, it only becomes an investment if you're renting it out and it's bringing you money. But if you buy it and you're living in it, it's not really an investment. Anyway, I know this is going to go into a big argument like what happened before. Because, of course, you're going to argue and say, well, in 25 years' time, I'm going to have equity, and so on, and so on, and so on. But anyway, those are my thoughts. So, yes, I need to start having conversations with my children about money. But you know what I've done, which is literal? I've actually started planting trees at the farm, like planting a lot of trees. At the moment, I've planted 44 moringa trees. Yeah, I know they're tiny right now, but I'm sure in a few years, they're going to be way, 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 way much bigger. And of course, I can use the leaves for other things. And also, I'm not going to stop growing these trees, because I'm planting for the future. Because I know that if I grind the leaves, I can sell that as a product. So for those people that have land, which is of course not being utilized, perhaps maybe what you can do is plant trees. Who's going to steal small trees, unless that person is like really on the next level of wanting to steal things. But I doubt that people will be, thinking of stealing trees. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But yeah, so basically what I'm saying is when it comes to money, there's a lot we need to think about and also start applying, because sometimes knowing the buzzwords is not enough. It's applying it in real life. And what really made me create this video, I spoke to one young man from Australia. He shocked me. He really, really shocked me. Because I get a lot of calls because of this investment business that we're trying to create for the diaspora community. So I'm getting a lot of calls from different people. So, what this young man said was very interesting. he started buying houses in the high density areas. And of course, a lot of the times people, when you do that, they look down on it and say, "Ugh, why would anyone want to buy houses there?" But this young man, I think he mentioned that he was doing this with a group of people as well, there in Australia. They started buying houses slowly. And he's got his own houses as well. So what happened now is, with these houses, he was started renting them out. And obviously, they're increasing in value every single year. But in order for him to achieve that, his lifestyle was stripped down. Okay, he stripped down his lifestyle. He started, pretty much in terms of cars, he has a basic Toyota. I think he said Toyota Camry. And for those of you who know Toyotas, Toyotas are very, very solid cars. While his friends actually drive these expensive cars. When it comes to his accommodation, again, he has a basic house that he lives in. But all his friends have houses on mortgage, which are massive and fancy and all of that. But he's just simple. But the reason why I gave him about an hour of my time talking to him, I was actually really impressed by the fact that that is how he was thinking at a very young age. That for me was fascinating and actually shocking that he would think like that at a very young age. Why am I saying this? It's because oftentimes we go back to that mentality. Remember, I mentioned that when it comes to money, how we grow up, people with money are those that we saw with houses and cars. So that is why he really impressed me. And then he went on to say that one of his tenants back in Zimbabwe, who rents in his house, drives a Mercedes. And when he's in Zimbabwe, the young man, he's using public transport. And can you imagine the thinking? He's using public transport, the tenant has a Mercedes. And yet the guy with the Mercedes is actually paying rent to the guy who's using public transport. Think about it. How many of us has that discipline to actually do that? Those are the sort of things that I find very, very impressive. And this is basically how we're supposed to be thinking about money. We need to think about money in terms of how money is coming in passively, passive income. That's very, very powerful. Anyway, guys, I thought I'd share this with you. I would like to know your thoughts. What do you think about what I've said? Add your comments in the comments box below. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.